Sanje Jodam Sojim Janula Chancho Vadodani Dagi Chuji Jibi Tonumji Dola Sanjim Jobara Sho Sanje Jodam Sojim Janula Chancho Vadodani Dagi Chuji Jibi Tonumji Dola Sanjim Jobara Sho 강기 토진이 손에 다와 던지 방비 담비 춘든지 고점 제라 장즈로 Good morning everyone. Good morning.
Good morning. Are you sure it's a good morning?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay.
And that that also Londi 남기는 전자티 한 도망 곧 주기엔자 단 남기 라마 공부 쪽에 손길이야 통단이라 차원이 세치 아니 통미기 자위 통미 개체어디 아니 공공 세티 또 대서 따자위기 남아서 제 따지 또 답변은 따 갈서다 소소를 중은 시에바나 아니 공공 주고야디 아니 빼마서가 개침부치기 레다 생인 중은 공공 주고 개침부인자 수중원이 간투투기 아니 공공 주시 두수였어 안 자스 좀 시월리 준주 나눠야 남같이 신이 교바 대시단 얘기는 로이동을 세워쇼세 난신 기지 물론 순진이 겹치니 아니 공주유스.
So good morning everyone. We'll begin the teaching today. This is the first session for this year's advanced study program. So we begin the advanced study program today. And just like the excellent masters, the excellent lamas of the past have said, there are two activities that are important, one that comes at the beginning and one that comes at the end. So to begin with, the first important activity is correcting our motivation. So for us as those that listen to the teachings individually, it is important, very important that we engender a positive motivation. But it's not that it's only for us, also the speaker, the one that teaches the Dharma, ought to generate a wholesome motivation, a positive motivation. So when we engender a positive motivation, we can do it just as Shantideva said in his dedication chapter, for as long as space endures, for as long as sentient beings endure, for that long may I too remain to dispel the misery of the world. So it is important that to begin with, we generate a positive motivation.
아니 대난신기 공공 주치는 저와이나 아니 홍기 따지 상식인들이 최베기 아니 자신인답 진속이 아니 드링은 좀 고좀 시행이 아니 전주선 비춰버디 야 힌답 닝이야 리버축치 또 표실 되세 닝이야 리버축치니 아니 콜리견이 배운디 아니 탐지 되는 루트에 끼우지 규리어로 왔어 안간주 dinan신기 고 아니 힌르기 베준치 아니 삼반남다친 비기게 가서 땅간주 님보된 거서 란규그 님무도성의 님보된 아니 슈갸고서 아니 신진진기 아니 잔주성의 슈갸는 저에나 간주 디투야기 네바 여러와스 딘장간주 아니 고는 상부지 토네 슈침부지 토네 간주 전주 친일에 주와이나 안 간주 뭐토 고야기 균세요 마르와스.
So it's important that we as the listeners also generate our positive motivation. And in generating the positive motivation, we can then, first of all, think of the Buddha, the Bhagavan, that has also engendered at the very core of his heart the mind of enlightenment at the time of being Bodhisattva. So Bodhisattvas, the children of the Buddhas, are those that from the very bottom of the heart, in the sense that it is a totally heartfelt intention to be of benefit to other sentient beings, to fulfill the welfare of all sentient beings, were totally intent in whatever they did, in putting a lot of effort in accomplishing the welfare of other sentient beings. So also when we engage in, first of all, the study of Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, we recognize that we work hard, we make effort. We also generate that positive motivation seeking to benefit others. We generate the mind that is intent on, the mind that cherishes other living beings. We make effort in the development of bodhicitta. And we can recognize that we can do it. We have the ability to give rise to a mind of cherishing others. We have the ability to give rise to positive motivation in forms of bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment. When we recognize the ability that we have to do that, we can recognize that there is nothing that we cannot do.
Mandaya Karsana, Nanzu, Tandabardo, Pigilaya, Gabkur Chegosa, Shuk Gagosa di, and it changed Evanzimbi, changing Sambata, and it Chaminji Chanju Sama Sobalaya, and it Shuk Magib, Gabkur Maji, Mogosa Ranchin Zenda, Chadang Mosonaya, Gabkur Sodachin, Nimbutengwasle, Martin, two, Chinjulo Somba T, Wangi, and Nanzu Somba Remoto. Manzolaya Tindroya Liva Mevata, Tindroya Rig Neval Soba, Dindi Sawin in the Remendoas, Remendoas, Yasi Chanju Simba Solia, Kari Yoya Nivadi, Kazu Niva Combat Tayagi, Tay Yu Nivadi, Rigdi, Nanzula Yabachigan, Inea Nanzulanga Digale, Susu Mashuachi, Susu Kapalon, dead of a dig Mandiwainza, the Dirin Nanzolaya, and the Jazzy surely Lamde. Yob Shizong Ton Nanzo Catelia Chon, Shugan and Rovana, Nanzo Ditola Jazjadam Roturis.
So up until now, when we look at where we are at the moment, we can see that up until now, we haven't been able to progress much. Bodhisattvas that have developed the mind of enlightenment have done quite a lot of work. They have been able to progress along the steps of the path, and it seems that we are lagging behind. So what's the reason for that? Well, the reason for that is that we haven't made enough effort in developing an attitude of cherishing others, of loving kindness, compassion, the mind of enlightenment, and so forth. Rather than making effort, working hard in developing, cherishing others, loving kindness, compassion, the mind of enlightenment, we have been supportive of our own afflictive states of mind, of anger, attachment, and so forth. We haven't made effort in extracting the essence of the practice of bodhisattvas. And for that reason, you can say that we are left behind. So it's not that we have no ability to do it. It's not that we have no Buddha nature that enables us to do it. We have Buddha nature in the sense that we have a Tathagata family, a Tathagata lineage. We can develop those states, but so far, it seems that we have turned the mind away from that. But if we make effort, if we work hard, it is definitely something that we can do.
어디를 딘자 갑골아야지 카메베 소리치 간스나나들야 람들 네땡인기 라마 기위신이다 만체비 까라 안 람도기 시투요 말때 마투디 고 카메교 소리치 차고라서 이내양 안도지 람들 네땡이 라마 기위신이다 체 아니 람들 네라야 주비 니버 유비 까라야 아니 마체바이나 소소라야 램바르 마도 수칸라야 카샤스 메주치 이마다 세우 차도스 로
And from time to time, you can say in different situations, it is not our fault in the sense that, well, there is nothing that we could have done differently. Nothing that we could have done differently in the sense that at a time in which, for example, we haven't met yet a spiritual teacher, we did not have that ability, that opportunity to make the most out of it. But having met a spiritual teacher that teaches us what is to be taken up and what can be cast aside, it's not that we haven't had the opportunity to do it. We do have the opportunity to do it. So in that sense, we have now what it takes in order to develop our mind in this way. It is possible that in other scenarios, there was nothing that we could have done about it, but now we can.
Dinza ani nganzula lamdur ne tengi gi kalaya an dilaya semte delaya ichichi logichin drobaina ani suzu lamga ragiros ra dinza ani nganzu tanda bardu da karchungyo mare slawndi ko chete chi mugo sajilaya chete chi ra pena ranchin zin drawlaya ani chete chi ani shenchin zin yawa thorondi gi ani 다 문제비 동안 토도 발대야 주디 딘디직 톤다 다 연구여봤다 세우러 왔어.
But currently we have someone that teaches us those essential points that are to be taken up and those points that are to be cast aside. We can turn our minds toward it. We can be attentive to it. We can develop trust. We find the path that lead us to developing that practice. So if we wonder, what's the reason that things haven't gone that well for us so far? Why are we not doing so well? Well, we're not doing so well at the moment because we're still entrenched in an attitude of cherishing ourselves. We disregard an attitude of cherishing others. And then all of a sudden, unwanted suffering befalls upon us.
뇌기야기 유지마도 펜토야지 싸우는 문도 왔어. 딘자 아니 변나가지다 이문도 송원도 주의걸이야. 장라만 펜 현라만 펜 받지. 그러 장기 유지 니무 가주스마 nentuba di tsugi ani rangi ba shenki ba o dichaga yobata pesiures rata pesiures.
And with an attitude of cherishing ourselves, it's not that we have been entrenched in that attitude knowingly. Even without being totally aware of our own sense of self-cherishing, we have been acting on that basis. And when we act on that basis, we get used to it. We become so habituated with cherishing ourselves, and it increases our own afflictive states of mind, anger, attachment, ignorance, and so forth. And through that, we harm ourselves and we harm other living beings. They only bring about harm, attachment, anger, and ignorance. Those three poisonous afflictions bring only harm. They don't benefit us. They're not helpful. So we have the ability then to recognize them. We have the ability to recognize the destructive effect of our self-cherishing attitude and afflictive states of mind.
Da dig tortures. Bena sozo tachi magasaji mijiobana and delaya magawa ginzen chini. Sozo begilaya and control the shedan the chado shucheta. Sozu chobo durtamena, tengoma di sozo nesumado, magasa de la net neki tumadas. Magasa the torcona, 아니 ranju ki nimu di nembaina ranju wi shen jinzen de cham yenji chanju sense de so kompal tawena 다가랑기 아니 가서 다 ndurtu야지 년경투야지 디니 연구였어야지 디니 연구였어야지.
So far, we've been acting in ways in which we try to subdue our own enemy and to take care of the ones that are close to us. But we've been doing that under the power of our own our own afflictive states of mind, the three poisonous afflictions. So when we act in that way, try to subdue our own enemies and nourish the ones that are close to us in having the support of our own afflictive states of mind in doing that, we only end up in harming ourselves. So when you think about it, you have a person that you dislike. You dislike a certain person, and on that basis, your own poisonous afflictions increase, anger, attachment, and so forth, they increase. And you act on that basis. And at the end, it's not that you harm that enemy, the person that you dislike, you end up harming yourself. So if there's something that you dislike and you want to subdue that, you want to destroy that, what you need to destroy, what you need to subdue is your own self-cherishing attitude and the poisonous afflictions. If you nourish the thing that need to be close to your heart, then you nourish loving kindness and compassion in the mind of enlightenment, so that they increase more and more. This is what we need to nourish. So if we do think of this attitude of subduing our enemies and taking care of the things that are close to our heart, then rather than thinking of other people, we should destroy, or we should subdue self-cherishing and afflictive states of mind and nourish positive states of mind. So when you think about it in this way, and then you take that as the motivation that makes you engage in Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, then you are taking a practical approach to the study of this module. So please take it to heart, hold on to it, and in this way engage in this study module.
아니 지당 지나다 아니 지 송보고기 아니 남들라 소바 근데 상만지 슈고르다 띵이 아니 근데 슈다 뒤저리 다 간지 돈다 영면서다 디 인처럼 속에 아니 스로치스 디자다 전주 체모 그런기 니 아니 첸 딱당디 지단 땡줄이야 첸 딱당 만부절때 조디 첸디 아니 저시 찬 강 땡규 아니 저자 디 찬이 아니 땡줄들이야 첸 따요스 저발은 주고 잔주스미 저발은 주고 나오니 야스 잔주스미 저발 아니 지금 영화 있음기 저발 개당기 럼바디 창성지 맞땡규연사 아니 저자 디 찬이 저제들이야 아니 전죽 제모스 어디송고레스 라.
Now, the text that we're going to use in this study module is Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life. So the author of this text is Shantideva. Now, sometimes when teachings begin, the biography or the accounts of the author are being told. So Geshe said that he's not going to do it at the beginning of this session. We have different books and different texts. So Geshe invites you to do your own research, to do some readings of the accounts, the life story of Shantideva. Anyway, the title of this text is The Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life. The title itself was translated in a variety of ways, and it could be translated in a variety of ways because some of the words in the title have a variety of meanings, right? So in English, we basically choose one word, but in Tibetan and also in Sanskrit, there is a variety of meaning to the different elements in the title of the text. So it is called The Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life. In that sense, it teaches us the activities of body, speech, and mind of bodhisattvas. And in that sense, it is also engaging in the bodhisattva's behavior, engaging in the bodhisattva's practice. It is supplementing the bodhisattva's practice. So this is what we're going to study. The subject matter of this text is indicated by the title of this text, The Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life.
어디에 딘자 아니 지단게 야스 천주스미기 남들도 소바 야스 좀 시월리 남들도 소바 또 지금 제투바이나 아니 소놈 그 소세디 라 라민 남들 지원디 아니 소놈 그 소사고레스 소놈 그 소소발 때니 아니 이시기 소 델라도 아니 조투야기 아니 니버들레고레스 다 간지 라 딘자 땅한 주 소놈 사마투나 아니 지 이시기 소조세디 아니 따자니니 다 용야 메주치 제도아스 라 인저 땅안주 레 당보라야 소놈 사야기 지다 망부여되네야 간주 따리 카실이야 가가실이야 라미남터 마송 송디 잠발라지 안지 피게 랑수 소르지 다가 좀식이 소르지 천한 내지니 마대바 끼바나 좀도아스 딘디 마이바 홍기 끼고 담바소이나 라민 남들 지원디게 대바 요메바 대바 라오메바 쇼진 아니 미키 치만 바발라 소바 류 바베 담발라 소 딘디기 베 아니 가디 트로스 아니 페기요스라 대페발 때니 디기 송라야 주발야 베 아니 지 가르스고다 아니 꼼디 챌린지 버세줘라 베디 추지 카꼼딩이 미지 아니 추지기 다코바는 남스 델야 잘 드라야 가오용야 나신기 어 딘디 주기요서레스 다 딘디지 여바이나 아니 송들에 친이치 온디 람상지 아니 디기 안 소소래야 고하다 고는 샘나 펜바 어 딘디기 다 페요 망부 연구요서레스 라 남들 테스트 제토바이나
So Geshe began by making this comment that often at the beginning of teaching such as that, the life story or the accounts of the master that has composed the text is being told. So here, the one that composed this guide is Shantideva, the great Bodhisattva Shantideva. It's not that recounting the life story of Shantideva is something that is done half-handedly or just kind of as a random thing. It's actually something that we use in order to accumulate the collection of merit. So going through biographies of lamas like that increases our accumulation of merit. And if we have sufficient merit in our disposal, we will have the ability to easily complete the accumulation of exalted wisdom, exalted knowledge. Without merit, we will not be able to accumulate the accumulation of exalted wisdom, exalted knowledge, and therefore it is so important for us, particularly as beginners, to have enough merit. Now, sometimes when we approach that to begin with as beginners, we come across those stories, or those accounts of great masters from the past, we think that, well, yeah, this is just a story. But when we become dismissive of those accounts, then it doesn't really help us to accumulate the accumulation of merit. In fact, those great masters of the past, the holy beings of the past, have used those accounts also to build up the stores of merit for themselves. So they emphasize the importance of looking at those life stories. Through that, you develop faith. You develop faith in, for example, Shantideva and the text of Shantideva, to the point in which when you hear teachings that are based on Shantideva's text, then naturally, because of faith, tears flow down or your body shakes. The hair on your body stands on end, which are signs of being completely inspired, being completely moved by encountering that set of teachings. It's just like Geshe said that imagine a situation when someone is dying of thirst. That person is so thirsty and they're given a glass of water. So they kind of immediately, with that sense of joy, they rush to partake, to drink that water. So similarly, when we think of how through faith we develop a certain attitude to towards texts such as this, then we think that I'm going to understand those teachings. It will benefit my mind. So in that way, kind of that attitude, the faith that we get from listening to such accounts are not just stories. They do help us to build those attitudes, which at the end benefit our own mind.
As there that these are that the any that just to show the son Junjuki ma tune the that the conto saga Java to the and Jazurum Chiki Junju Namshi the Shilla Shabitoni and the Shialis Ra Nitangi di ma Junjuki Chick Chanzan di any Yawrum Kunduni Tangima Tanda Karsa Lojong Nimi Sertan, any Junju Chemuni Darni, any sons of Tidingi, a Chanzan, any Tobiores, Toyores Tinza, that any Javadi, Yazurum Chigiti, any Yawrum Chigi, Junju Javajuri, Tea, any Pelo Jasatanda, any Zoching, Kembo Kumpel, Kusam Pendes, Kumbela Sesto. 공기 전주군 잡아줘도 뒤에는 소소라는 배 아니 샘라 펜분도 찍게 라오지 세면 배 아니 찍도라 어디에 벨로장이스 대티되냐 다 간징이 아니 소소란 떡이 마 전주군 데트야 그 니바요 말데냐 도스 사마지 대지 아니 칸투도지 아니 쉬야겠지 디토는 로그스.
So we are going to begin Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life. Now, in giving an explanation of this text, Geshe is going to use a commentary that was composed by Getza Damarinchen. Now, this commentary is available, I think that it's on the Dropbox. I will check at the end of this session. If not, we're going to put it on the Dropbox. We have a translation of the text that was done by, I think, Venerable Feder. I'm going to display the commentary on the screen if and when Geshe is going to read parts of this text. It's also going to be on the Dropbox, so you guys at home and also you guys here can have a look at the text. On top of that, Geshe received a commentary on this text from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So the guiding commentary was interwoven together with instructions that His Holiness gave on mind training like the rays of the sun. So, quite a few years ago, Geshe attained those teachings that combine those two texts together. So Geshe will also draw from those teachings. Now, there is a commentary available in Tibetan only that His Holiness gave to Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life. So Geshe will also draw some points from that commentary. There's another text that Geshe is using from a Dzogchen master called Kumpel, right? Kumpel. So so Geshe found his commentary to be really helpful. So we have three sources that Geshe is using in order to give an explanation of this text. At least one of them is available in English. Geshe said that he doesn't have the ability to just give a commentary to this text on his own accord, right, without relying upon other sources, but he has studied this text before. There are other sources that Geshe can pull in order to give an explanation. So this is how we're going to approach our study. And Geshe said that he will try his best, to his best ability, to give an explanation of Shantideva's instructions.
That's all. That dinima and the Sajid Tang, Leo Tango Chanju Sim, the Pay Sheba, Nipa Duba Shaba, Sumba Chanju is Sam Yosu Jonga, Shiva Paria Temba said. Any other Shishin Soma, Truba Soba Temba, Tumba Tumbi Temba, Java someday, Goba Sheruki level. Jubong who was this only tea is Saji Korangi Tonma, Pandri Dangerous, Bay Yago, Penanganzu Chanju Sim Jubale, Jubalaya. Chanju Simbi Jobatim be shown and Jubalaya, Chanju Simbi Jobi, pay some to Vena, 아니 쪼알레기 들어왔어 가왈레기 들어왔어 아니 델이야 아니 주기야기 때지 가기 망보 지 아니 가데 트로슨 그 토니 셀드야지 연구연자 아니 페이어 상야디 아니 당시 이어를라 디페 개침보레스 딘자 아니 다 드링한주다 레베담보 전주심 이 페이어시에 봐서야 다 드닝 고츠건자 아니 페이어디 간다지 팽기유메 어디 아니 먼저 레베담보 존디게 아니 전주 셈비기 저버디게 장신 로송이야 가주스 편도 연구유메 아니 타바도 탐지김비 줄이야 간다스 드루유메기 아니 내든디 인지민이다 먼저 셈레야 초여버지 제국어서레스라
Geshe Dhamma commentary is called The Entrance for the Children of the Conquerors, a commentary on the introduction to the actions of Bodhisattvas. So I'm just going to put it on the screen for those of you at home, just for you to look at the cover of the text. So The Entrance for the Children of the Conquerors, a commentary on the instructions to the actions of Bodhisattvas. Now, the author of the root text, as we said, is the Bodhisattva Shantideva, and the author of the commentary is Geshe Rinpoche. And the subject is Bodhicitta and the Six Perfections. The translator is Venerable Fedor. Now, the edition of the commentary that we have in Tibetan includes also a brief outline of the different chapters. There are 10 chapters to this text, and it seems that just a kind of this outline or the table of content was not translated into English, so I will just kind of read it quickly. So we have the first chapter that teaches the benefits of bodhicitta, the second chapter that teaches the purification of negativities, the third chapter that teaches how to completely take up, completely embrace bodhicitta. The fourth chapter teaches conscientiousness. The fifth chapter teaches how to guard alertness. Then the sixth chapter teaches patience. The seventh teaches joyous effort. The eighth teaches absorption or meditation. Now the ninth chapter teaches wisdom. And the 10th chapter is the chapter on dedication. So the first chapter teaches the benefits of bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment. Now, the reason for beginning with the benefits of bodhicitta is to engender delight or enthusiasm in developing bodhicitta. After all, there are going to be some obstacles and hindrances for the development of bodhicitta. In order to deal with those hindrances, with the obstacles for developing bodhicitta, we need to remove the different obstacles. So we need to have a sense of joy in that. That sense of joy, that sense of delight, that sense of enthusiasm will make it possible for us to work with difficulties. And for that reason, we first of all begin with looking at the benefits of bodhicitta, right? When you're so convinced that bodhicitta has these benefits, you will make effort in pursuing the path that will lead to the development of bodhicitta. So this is what we'll begin with in chapter number 1.
강긴 캠바 니바군세 쳔베 뱀베 꾸시킹고 주인 칸파데 투지 쳔베 양아 투지 송교여서 타연절라 지메람 초시 휘긴주진 규미치베 제바 상베 타연절이 문바센세바 통원남다 라마케친 잠비 양기 샤블 단 kü비 창세로 라니 체르군든 리체타 까님세나 펜반균님도 야시탄비 쫄은 주바이 시든 키비셰바 셴드르 란다 총진 샤비 찜바이 멤비 창주 토버 제발라 사미 데니 토버 무르시 셴발로반 채능살 김예 텔란데 야완 툼비 엄보 데니 기탐보 창주 기초 셈기 파르토카와 탐미 토마 제소 파신기 주비 손이 조벌 치시 다른 건뭐 조버 상기니 주기 콜로 럼바순 거원 제데 당분 파비 담바 실라 렌숨도 대시 넘버 중이 수 거원 제도 년투기 리젠남 리진 균빈바 카치라네 덴바시 덴바 삼기장 덴중 주비 타다 트와 콘도 주번 결라 공불도 주기 덴주당 리버 주주빈 드와 레벤 다와 타도 타와터 테바 멤비 데는 남 무수양 다메 참모 렌토머 손소 데는 도 겐주 두숨 소 간자단 쳬라 다메 게버템비 추긴 콜은 이버코원 제도 데는 탑기 차 야침보 탑기 차 야침보다 집이 칠무도비 콜루땀 추긴 콜로 숨버코원 제도 데라치르 소름 타다기 고먼 제시 캐벌도 태버침비 되는기 공부 속을 짠니 소름타다 태버침비 리던데미 강사직 상기비 람기 양라 쳐다 냠술림비 술 예버 땡은 페피 담비 추 저벌은 주버니 강시버 차고 땡준디 제버번니 레번 파발 시위타 소름타다기 공부 속을 또시 다비 신집이 투지침도 댐바 라니 바시기 대발라 떼바메바 젠기 펜델라 타치도 쇼와 캐버드 nenjo 라미기 신도 쫌미기 쫌바치비 고니 테버침비 람 조버라 제바 테니토 디제비 텐조 장주스미 쫌발은 주바 나 지생기 벤주지 시종기테 주기 테노스
So I'm wondering, those that are here at Agompa, do you have an access to this commentary? Yeah, by Fedor. All right. Maybe what we can do for tomorrow, later on today and tomorrow, maybe we can also set up the screen and the projector so that we'll be in sync with those that are studying at home. All right. We're waking up with technology. So what Geshe did now was he read through the introduction of the commentary of Geshe Rinchen. So as we said, Geshe Rinchen composed his commentary. It's called The Entrance for the Children of the Conquerors. Now the word entrance, by the way, can be translated also as a guide. It can also be a supplement, right? So we have the entrance for the children of Bodhisattva, or the guide for the children of the Bodhisattvas. Sorry, the children of the Buddhas, or engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds. So this is a commentary on the introduction to the actions of Bodhisattvas. Now, Geshe Rinchen began the text with saying, I prostrate to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And when he introduces the text, it says, or his commentary says, I bow respectfully at the feet of the pure holy lords endowed with great compassion. He whose mind has exhausted all faults and who exalts dancing in the pure spheres of the mandala of the four bodies, ablaze with the glory of marks and signs, who emanates out of great compassion light rays of pure speech endowed with 60 aspects to infinite migrators, who clears away the darkness of infinite migrators with spontaneous and uninterrupted wholesome actions. I prostrate respectfully to the feet of the able ones and to the Lama, the great being, that is the gentle, melodious one, Manjushri, right? The gentle, sorry? Page, what page? Thank you very much. It is in page 9. Page 9 in the commentary. So Geshe Rinchen says, to the great being that is the great melody, that is the gentle, melodious one, this is Manjushri. So that I may be guided in all my lifetimes, and with the thought of benefiting those of equal fortune, I shall write down, according to the views of those proficient, the words and meanings of the introduction to the holy actions of the children of the conquerors. Those bound by the noose of grasping at supreme the view of self, who thus assert that to attain the lesser enlightenment, one does not need to realize the suchness of the profound. Childish ones, listen to dispel your mistaken assertions. Now the conqueror, the powerful able one, or the Muni, Buddha Shakyamuni himself, initially generated the supreme mind of enlightenment. In the middle, he completed the 2 accumulations by practicing the 6 perfections of generosity and so forth for several countless great eons. In the end, having become completely enlightened, he turned the three wheels of Dharma. First, he turned the Dharma wheel of the Four Noble Truths in 12 aspects, repeating them 3 times. Merely by showing the 4 truths to someone belonging to the hero lineage whose continuum has ripened, they comprehend dependent arising free from elaborations. Just as it is explained in Nagarjuna's treatises and by the Master Chandakirti, with quotation in the commentary on 60 reasonings, subtle selflessness is shown explicitly in the Hinayana basket of teachings on several occasions. Then it turned the second wheel of Dhamma, such as the small, middling, and great wisdom sutras, which comprehensively show the selflessness of persons and phenomena. Subsequently, it turned the third Dhamma wheel, the advice of the irreversible will endowed with extensive method aspect. The introduction to the holy actions generally relates to the intent of all the teachings, and specifically it reveals in full the intent of the Mahayana basket. I shall explain this holy Dhamma, which extensively conveys the way in which all the teachings have to be practiced as part of the path to enlightenment by one individual belonging to the Mahayana family. The author of this treatise is the master, the superior Shantideva, who fully realized the intent of all the teachings. He is endowed with great compassion, that cherishes others over self, and only works for the benefit and happiness of others, not basing his practice on his own personal happiness. Specifically, he practices the highest yoga, which is completely free from elaboration. As such, is the very essence of a Mahayana practitioner. So first of all, we had the introduction of Geshe's commentary. Now, after this introduction, he explains the 4-point outline in which this text is going to be explained. So first of all, it is going to explain the meaning of the text. The second point is the translator's prostration. The third point is the meaning of the text. And the last one is the meaning of the conclusion.
That 가서 저발은 주발라 시 생기된 결기샤 종기된 주기된 손다 생기된 세디 안 땡줄디 생기된 송거라 생기된이야 곧 저당 야가르키 다 비기 깨 돌아 야가르케도 보드사다 사라야 아바타라 세디 디츠 페게디 교니 찬주스미 저발은 주바 단전수 깨규르단 딱 아니 말로선 티스레니 소 깨규르크리가 장에 나티셔라부스 아니 야가르나 깨릭시어 발레 삼티디 깨도 텐준디 민 보드 벽에도 참조당 사단은 셈바당 자라야는 쩌바당 아와타르는 주버시 자우스.
So to begin with, the first point in the outline is explaining the title of the text. Now, looking briefly at the text, we're going to look at the text again briefly. So we have 4 points to the text. The first is the meaning of the title. So in Sanskrit, the title of the text is Bodhisattva Avatara. Now, the text says in Tibetan, but then it says the name of the text in English. So in Tibetan, it says Introduction to the Actions of Bodhisattvas. Actually, in Tibetan is Janjusembe Chovala Jukpa. In English, it is Introduction to the Actions of Bodhisattvas. Now, Gyatso Dhamma Rinchen explains the meaning of the title. It says, of the 4 languages of India, the title of this text is in Sanskrit. Now, breaking the word Bodhisattva Avatara into individual words, then Bodhi means enlightenment. Sattva means brave ones, so courageous one. Now, Charya means action, and Avatara means introduction. Now, the word Avatara has a variety of meanings. Also in Tibetan, it has a variety of meanings. One of them is introduction. Another one is supplementing or explaining, right? So here we have a guide or an introduction to the deeds, to the actions of bodhisattvas.
That's saying you gurji cha sage, gurji chadi, and gurchadi, and pig lots of tsugi, and tsuta, and lecture ken tsu, pigit guri kalaya, and golaya, and gushan zebati, that any pigurgi, and song, the peshe samala dears, gushati. Then gushan zebi gobadita, chidan yonda dojre, gushan zebi gobadi, and so Guriagi Chavadi Tarchim by Yonyak Chet. So the and Gur Tachim Bichedu and Magur Konaya and Sanji Chansolaya, Chatsa Sigulaya, and Chatsigi so I did it.
So sorry, actually I left out something. Geshe said at the beginning of explaining the title of the text that now is here it's an explanation of the translation of the title. No, Geshe's job is not to be the translator, so he's not going to translate, he's just going to explain the meaning of the translation of the title. So we have looked at that. Now the second point in the outline is the translator's homage. So again, I'll put this text on the screen. So looking at the translator's prostration or the translator's paying homage, the text begins with saying, I prostrate to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Now, the purpose of the translator's prostration, paying homage, is to pacify the obstacles to the translation and to identify this text as a commentary belonging mainly to the sutra basket of teachings, although in general it is a commentary on all the baskets of teaching. So when you look at a text such as this, it was composed by an Indian scholar. It is one of the classics. Now, when this great volume of text was translated from the Indian language, from Sanskrit to Tibetan by a translator, there was this format that was added to the act of translation to include at the very beginning of the translation, a line of paying homage. Now, the purpose for paying homage here is I pay homage to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, is to ensure that the act of translation would be brought to completion. So when you undertake a massive job such as this, a translation of one of those great classics, you want to ensure that the translation will be brought to completion. So then, in order then to do that, at the beginning, the translator paid homage. Here, the translator paid homage to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. No. Good question.
Sanje the changes some tamjela chanzelo shiviko. So Sanje Sanjela chancellor saying Digi, any chobajuzu you Sanji say most them but Digi, and Tachidan Koran Dula, and Digi, any Jonju Chamber di, then you carry constantly yobadi, sad nunchiak ched dodge, Jig Chagos is. Sanji Dashi saw the chokan to top of Musson was Jokorneo did it. The chokan top was known, the nurse of Kandi Constova di Sanji the Jerusalem Tamjel Chancellor said, Digi, any Chaltsewa, any Kubachewa, any Gurtashim Goba, any the new dear Kandi Kondotoba, Samago, and the 6 Digi, and don't to go rest, don't go rest.
So then the translator of the Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life from an Indian language to Tibetan added that line, I prostrate to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. I pay homage to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So the commentary says in relation to that this line indicates in general to which basket of teachings this treatise belongs. So the Buddha gave different sets of teachings, right? So the author begins with saying, I pay homage to all the Buddhas, or you can say the Buddha. He explicitly mentions the Buddha here, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Now, the teachings of the Buddha are classified into the 3 collections of teachings, the 3 baskets. When The first line of a text that was added by the translator says, for example, I pay homage to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. It indicates to which basket of teachings this treatise belongs. So here Geshe Dhamma says that looking at the way that the translator paid homage, it shows that in general, this set of teachings belongs to the basket of sutras. However, it is a massive text. It has many different elements. So it covers also the other baskets. It belongs to, you can say, to all the baskets. So let's look at the explanation of Geshe Dhamma. It says, the purpose of the translator's prostration is to pacify the obstacles to the translation and to identify this text as a commentary belonging mainly to the sutra basket, right? So out of the three baskets, it mainly belongs to the sutra basket of teachings, although in general, it is a commentary to all the baskets of teachings. So as it says, although you can say that by paying homage to the Buddhas, it indicates that it belongs to the basket of sutra teachings. However, it also explains the meaning. It reveals the meaning of all the baskets of the Buddha's teachings. But still, mainly, it belongs to the basket of sutra.
Tasumba Jongu Tanlani, the Nimates Lojan, Jongu Tanlani, Tabachimbi, Lamgi Rumbashebala, Jupi, Chawa, Lamgi Rumbang, Ushebos, Tamba Tabachimbi, Lamgi Rumbal and Jubi, Chawala Sun, Chaba Jabatan, Sheba Tamjawa, K. Johnson, Somba Tree, Gunzen Nose.
Now, we also have some other materials available on the Dropbox. So another helpful thing that you have on the Dropbox is the outlines taken from Gyatso-Bje's commentary to Shantideva's engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds. So it is this text, the camera. So you have the outline of the text. So in looking at the expression of worship, let's look at the text itself. Just a second. So looking at page number 12, sorry, page 13 in Geshe Dhamma commentary, we have the first main point, which is the act of introducing the explanation of the stages of the Mahayana path, or the preparatory actions for explaining the stages of the Mahayana path. And the second point in that section is the actual explanation of the stages of the path. Now let's look at the preparatory actions for explaining the stages of the Mahayana path. There are a few points here. We have homage, pledge of composition, and then humility and the reason for joyous composition. Let's begin with the homage.
Ta godun dan duden tsigden ons tambu godun ta choba jibi godun sungor ta choba jibi godun di ani yu khabar chengi yonden jujin kyab songwe ani rani kyew tamba toba ta tenju tsomba soji ta tenju tsomba kab de tenju tsomya di chonju chembo inza chenju chembo bigi go tsomba ni ani thar mashi pa ni gema parche mayo soba tashi bichedo ani goba tindiji yores ta nego go goba sorojire tad thaddu goba ani rangi gyolaya tawada tamji kimbi kombo toya ta 아니 신 지수 좀 신이야 지수 좀 돼야 제 지수 슈비 내서 탐진 주바 아니 그바 디어레스
So we'll begin with the homage. Now the homage has 3 sections, so it has the purpose, the summary, and the meaning of the words. Now, before we read through the first 2 lines in verse 1, let's look at the purpose. It says, by expressing the qualities of special objects and going for refuge, one comes to be understood as a holy being, and the obstacles to the composition of the treatise are pacified. In the end, one attains definite goodness, and other disciples will also follow this example. As a result, they too will achieve all accumulations of goodness. So Shantideva begins the text with paying homage. Now, to that, Geshe Rinchen says that when we look at Shantideva's paying homage, he expresses the qualities of special objects and going for refuge. So through that, he says that one comes to be understood as a holy being. Not only that, you can say that as a middling purpose, the obstacles to the composition of the treatise, here it is Shantideva's guide, are pacified. And at the end, on that basis, one attains definite goodness, which means the state of liberation or the state of omniscience, the state of Buddhahood. And other disciples will also follow this example, which means that one will be able to care for other disciples. One will be able to benefit those disciples. As a result, they too will achieve all accumulations of goodness. That is the purpose of paying homage at the beginning. So let's look at the first 2 lines in this verse. Now, here we're gonna have some. It's not gonna be big problems or complications. But one thing that I wanted to point out is that we have a translation that was done by Feder to the commentary of Shantideva's text. Now, Feder has his own way of translating his own vocabulary. We also have another translation, of the root text that was done by Tsigi from Singapore. Right, so that is also on the Dropbox. It is this text, engaging in the deeds of Bodhisattvas of Shantideva. So the root verses are here in this text. So we have 2 different translations for the root verses. One of them is in Feder's translation. One of them is in the FPMT official translation of the text. So sometimes I will read from Feder's text. Sometimes I will read from Tsigi's translation. So if you're a bit confused, just kind of keep in mind that there are 2, I guess, translations of the root text, but I guess that in most cases they would be similar to each other. So the text begins with paying homage. In Tsigi's translation, it says, respectfully, I pay homage to the Sugatas who are endowed with the Dhammakaya, as well as to the children and to all who are worthy of homage. Let's see if I can actually put it on the screen. Not sure. Where is it? Bear with me for a second. I'll put it on the screen. Okay. So I'm just going to show you where it is also on the Dropbox. All right. So if you go to the Dropbox, Bodhisattva Way of Life 2020, then you have Bodhisattva Way of Life for public access, then Bodhisattva Way of Life text for public use, and then we have 2 texts for public use. One of them is the translation of the root verses by Tsigi, and the second is what I said, the outline together with verses. That's great, all right. But let's look at Tsigi's translation. So it says in the first verse, I respectfully pay homage to the Sugatas who are endowed with the Dhammakaya, as well as to the children and to all who are worthy of homage. La sola.
There's a Jadan Jonjucham Koranaya, Jonjucham Koranaya, Lord Zawa, Gurmunda Kaksum such. Do, Gurmunda Kaksums, Yokta Do, Inchital Tarande.
Indicator of the Minda de Gaio said. Now, I guess I said that in Tibetan itself, Tibetan language, there are 3 translations of Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life. So it creates some complications, you might say, when you access the root text, Shantideva's Guide, just because there are 3 translations. Now, Geshe was wondering if in English we also have such complications. I said that probably in English we have hundreds of translations of those texts. Each translator is using their own style, their own vocabulary. So I'd say that probably in English it's even worse.
Yeah, that Geshe Chugunga Sechetang Slandi, Second Tambutiki, Dersheba, so Sanji good temporis, Geshe Chugunga Seondi.
Now looking at the verse for paying homage. Just a second. All right. So now I pulled on the screen. I think that this is helpful. The root verses that are combined with the outline of Geshe Dhamma-Rinpoche's commentary. So when he explains the expression of worship, beginning, we're now looking at the meaning of these words. In the first 2 lines in verse 1, it says, respectfully I pay homage to the Sugatas, or endowed with the Dhammakaya. Now, this section that says, I pay homage to the Sugatas who are endowed with the Dhammakaya, this section shows us they're paying homage to a Buddhakaya, Buddha Bodhi.
Sanji Kusum Sejora, Suku Chuku Longose. So Deshe Kavaya, Tandangi Shude, Kembo, Kumbelki, Deshe ki Tsiti, Karsota, Peninjewich, Karson to Slana, and Lam Deva, and Chanju Simbi, and Lam Latenis, Jebu Deva, Sanji Kompan Sheba, Odus Jandus.
Now, looking at the root verse, it says, respectfully, I pay homage to the Sugatas. Now, Geshe was looking at this master Kumpen, Kempo Kumpen?
Yeah.
Kempo Kumpen, who had a really nice explanation of the word Sugata. Now, it says that the word Sugata in Tibetan is deshek. It has 2 syllables, de and shek. Or if we expound on them, elaborate on them, it's dewar shekpa. Now the first syllable de, or when it is extended, dewa, it means either comfortable, it means happy, it means good in some sense. So you can say that it depends upon an easy path, or you can say it depends upon a joyous path. You attain a blissful result. So shekpa, the second syllable, is to go, or to travel, to traverse. So you travel along a blissful path, or an easy path, to the attainment of a blissful result.
Niyoras, golong tartubi, any longo down, toba yishi chuku, Pambi kodan chuchuko, ni, that yons zoba, takanji, and Nagoras, Tingawas.
Sorry, I forgot to say that, in general, when we think of the Buddhakaya, there are 3 types of bodies that the Buddha has. So there's Dhammakaya, the Dhamma body of Buddha, Sambhogakaya, the utility body of Buddha, and the Nirmanakaya, the emanation body of Buddha. So here, when we look specifically at the commentary, it says, sorry, when we look specifically at the root text, it says, respectfully, I pay homage to the Sugatas who are endowed with the Dhammakaya. So here it, first of all, teaches the Dhammakaya of Buddha. So of the three bodies of Buddha, here it says, I pay homage to the Sugatas who are endowed with the Dhammakaya. Now, you can say that within the Dhammakaya, there are true paths and true cessations. In some sense, you can say that the Dhammakaya can be classified into true paths and true cessations, in the sense that you have true cessations, those perfect abandonments, which are part of the Dhammakaya. And there's also a consummate exalted knowledge, exalted wisdom, that is also part of the Dhammakaya. So first of all, it says, respectfully, I pay homage to the Sugatas who are endowed with the Dhammakaya, realizations and abandonments.
Tadi chidang jawa nang korang yung kore ta se che tang sila undi se tang cheba sanji se tang cheba la ya ani sanji se tang chebi zuebi ta chik chak tsasa ngösu chebi ki tamche lo la ya chak tsaki insa chak yo kola wa kubi chak tsasa sila undi ta se tang cheya ki se de la ya kari yore sila undi ani tanda zoshin kimbu kongi ani chir se la ya ani gu se, song se, tu se, sum shachi. Gu se di, ani se dajinzi. Ra, sanji gu se di, se dajinzi. Ngoni purawa, puti. Odi, gu se. Ani song se la ya, ani nyendo rangi la soba tsamulo, ani sanji song, ani nyamsu namba la teni, demba shivi tsubi, ta chik song chungo nyamsu namba la teni, ani dribita nyara rachumi komban ngondi chingi tamje lo, ani song series. Ta tuki se, ro, ta tsuwa di, ani chik yasi chanju sembi choba, ani nyamsu lani, ani yasi chanju sembi komban ngondi chedi ngingi tamje lo, ani tuki se.
So the first line says, respectfully, I pay homage to the Sugatas who are endowed with the Dhammakaya. We briefly explained that. Now the second says, let's hear if someone has a cat. Anyway, the second line says, as well as to the children and to all who are worthy of homage. So as well as to the children. So we pay homage to also the children of the Sugatas who are endowed with the Dhammakaya. Now, Geshe was looking at the commentary of Khenpo Kumpen, and it had a really nice explanation. It says that when you look at the children of the Sugata, and here we have to work with the way that it was translated into English. Now, in Tibetan language, generally speaking, there is no, when you speak or when you write something, you don't have to make a distinction between singular and plural. If you want to be really specific, you can be specific about whether you're speaking about something in plural or in singular. When you translate it into English, it's a problem, right? You have to say it explicitly. So the translation in the first line says, I pay homage to the Sugatas, it's in plural. But you can also understand it in Tibetan in singular. I pay homage to the Sugata. In this sense, it is paying homage to the Buddha himself, Buddha Shakyamuni. Not to all of them, but particularly to Buddha Shakyamuni. So in that sense, there are three, you can say that in Khenpo Kumpen's commentary, you can speak about a children of the Sugata that is a child of body or speech or mind. So you can say that the physical child of the Buddha or the Sugata is his son, Rahula, right? So that's like the physical child of the Buddha, Rahula. Then the speech child of the Buddha are hearers and sort of realizes that have attained a state of our hardships based upon the explanation that the Buddha gave. So the Buddha gave an explanation to a community of practitioners. Some of them were hearers or solitary realizers, right? Some of the audience. So it depends upon that speech explanation that the Buddha gave, they attained the state of our hardship. Then you have this children of the mind of the Buddha, and these are the Bodhisattvas, those that develop the mind of enlightenment. All right, so we have covered some of the text today. We might leave the text here for today. Geshe is wondering if you have any questions. Now, for those of you at home who might have a question, then you can raise your hand. So if you look at the, your screen, at the bottom of the screen, if you're using a laptop, you have a bar. You can click on the participants to your right hand, to the right hand side of the screen. You'll have a panel that will be displayed. It has different options. One of them is raise hand. So if you guys at home want to ask a question, please raise your hand and then we can take your question. For those of you here, have you got any questions? No questions? Grace?
In the Mahayana, why is the object of renunciation not the self-cherishing thought? Why is it the same?
Okay, so in the Mahayana, why is renunciation not, sorry, why is self-cherishing not the object of renunciation? Yeah? The Koranchio di Kararesana di Tekpa Chemborwa, Tekpa Chembogi Nyajon di Tewaina. Tadi Kanla Nyaba Junga Sashtua, Kanla Nyaba Junga said the la Ranchenzi Mashagi Gimson Karina, Ranchenzi le Nyaba Junga the Malawinas.
Carso, that neighbor Jones Loundy, any neighbor Jones Loundy, saving on to pen a longer non-layachi, and Tumungi Lam Sech. Tumungi Lam Diton Sungoras, Tumungi Lamdi, any Teba Chechon Kungi, any Tumungi Lamdi, and Ninjon Chagores. Any Dinani Chickman Tambo. And Teba Chimpi Lam Jungin Teba Chung Lam Jungin Tambo Pilea, Jingiba Jimbania, and Chikola and Nibanju in Jung Samuji Mena, and Koal the Tavi Tabatun Yavata, and Tamjin Kim attending Yav Samudi, and so in Yamajus Rendos. Tinza and Diko Pilea, Chick Karsota Dunga Chetabachi, the Numu Chetabachi, and Mashaba and Chiyung Kipigi Kovalaya, Nibanjo, Ninjonti, Kitchen Chagoras.
The word for renunciation in Tibetan is Nyabachungwa. It means to definitely merge, the wish or the intent to definitely merge. So, looking at the steps of the path to enlightenment, the intention to definitely merge is a path that is common to both the great and the lesser vehicle. So in English, often we call it renunciation, but in Tibetan it is called the intention to definitely merge. So it is a common path. It is common both to the great vehicle, but also to the lesser vehicle. So taking that it is a common path, then it is common to the path that is wishing to definitely emerge from cyclic existence. So it's not indicating a specific or a particular affliction. It's not indicating a particular type of suffering. If it did, it could not have been like a common path. So when you don't make those specific, when you don't specify it in that way, you take the definite emergence, that intention to definitely emerge, that renunciation, to be something that is common to both the lesser vehicle and to the great vehicle, in terms of this is a path that is common for attaining the state of liberation or the state of omniscience, the state of Buddha. So we have a question from Erin. She put her hand up. So Erin, you can I'm unmuting you. You can ask your question.
Hello, Yaki. Hello, Geshe. I'm just wondering, with reference to yoga in the texts, what does that mean in the Buddhist texts?
Okay.
Reference to yoga.
All right. Dila number shungla yoga se nenjo den de tsig di pech tangirwa.
Re.
Chesandi ko yoga gegen yorwa. Chesandi pech kuran yoga di tsig tunda di chik den de chik jagi yore. Ngatso number shungla nenjo se di tunda karinas. Nenjo se yoga wala.
Re. Nal jors la ondi. Karsavalta. Re nel jors la ondi pigile ya chik. Dudi do siabana ani chi zo jilya kiche jilya jaryak kiche lunga yisum pena lug nenjo de zo lug ani za jangya de dos lug ne tartubati zadan zal tugoras ra ani denza lug nenjo zo di za jangya de dos ne jor lili do samdan peshi digmeros.
Now, the word yoga was translated in Tibetan as into the word nenjor. Again, it has those two syllables, nel and jor. So when you look at the etymology of this word, I think that you can say that nel is like the natural state, and jor is to apply yourself, to connect yourself with that natural state. So as such, you can say that there are three ways of connecting to the natural state. You can do it physically, you can do it verbally, you can do it mentally. Now, physically, when you do physical yoga, in that sense, it's a physical connection with that natural state. You're looking at a system of channels within your body, right? So we have a system of channels and energies that are flowing along those channels. So you're doing a particular yoga in which you work with those channels in order to bring them, to connect them with the natural state. All right, so we have a few more questions. So do you know, so Kerry is asking, do you know the name of the biography of Shakyamuni Buddha, please, and who by? So Geshe didn't mention the name of a biography of Shakyamuni Buddha. Maybe we can look at a good biography later on and provide it. I think that Thich Nhat Hanh has a beautiful book called All Path White Clouds. It has really beautiful, inspiring accounts of the Buddha's life story. So this is my bit of it, but Geshe didn't mention a commentary or a biography. Now, the next question is, following the answer of Grace's question, if everything is an extension of the mind, then caring for others would still be an aspect of self-cherishing, albeit externalized. Does this lead to the conclusion that peace is attainable through absolute renunciation? It's a very philosophical question, isn't it? Well, I mean, we need to have a discussion about it, kind of, in order to translate it into Tibetan, I need to understand what you mean when you say, if everything is extension of the mind. What does it mean to say that that everything is an extension of the mind? And why would cherishing others, or caring for others would be an aspect of self-cherishing? So we need to have more discussion about it. Maybe I'll ask Geshe a brief question about it just to make sure that he says something. But I think that for me at least, the question is not very clear, so I cannot really explain it to Geshe in a clear way. Dila the meeting the kecha ila mela shigerwa. Dila shoots tamche sengi truba intang the halam shenchenzin ranchenzin kondo la ligirwa stende chiglagre. Inge tanda di dila kurang samlo kare tangi me tunda kare me nga gosugun dosla. Dila karana jindila waina dila tunda dendel le 투이 오면 하고 마선사. 근데 생기 참아 생기 투바 인산 란첸진 신첸진 컨도된 일들아 던다지 랭게르.
그런 거 고아지 다지 생기 딱 봐서 레슬라운디 참아도 찍고 찍양기 임비 손난로지 연구이기로
나와라.
아
No.
디디터 소소 저디 용척으로 왔어
나와라.
아다 아주 생기 딱 참 레슬라운디 로에 딱참 레스야 디게 아니 지 저와데도 따님 참아로 아니 찍고 찍양 레스 빌라고 말았어 라
No.
빌라고 말했어
No. So Geshe is saying, with respect to the first line that says is if everything is an extension of the mind. Well, Geshe said that if you think that everything is imputed by mind. Now, so from a Buddhist perspective, we say that all phenomena are merely imputed by mind. Now, if you think that all phenomena are merely imputed by mind, would then implies that all phenomena are the same, that there is no difference between them. It's not the right understanding of this statement. Like, for example, we have different sensations, different feelings, pleasure, pain, neutral sensation. The three are merely imputed by mind. So in that sense, there is an equality between those phenomena and being imputed by mind. It doesn't make pleasure and pain become the same. Pleasure, pain, and neutral sensation are not the same. They are imputed by mind, but are not the same.
라당한줄 대원 종어 디단 동한 종어 들려야 개바 여버디 난주 원성 용근도 왔다. 라 디직벌 대와 요는 직벌 동한 요는 직벌 슬라바이나 난줄 대와 여버다 동한 여버디 베들로가 이번 난주 용이 trou도 왔어. 라
No.
디 르 딱장이 직벌 있느냐. 코랑이 개바 여버디 용이 trou고 왔어.
Well, first of all, we can see based upon a personal experience that we have pain, and we also have pleasure. We have happiness and we have suffering. What we can establish, we can prove based upon a personal experience that they're not the same. Now, the experience of happiness is not the same, or the experience of pleasure is not the same as the experience of pain. And this is something that we can establish based upon our own personal experience. They're still the same in being merely imputed by mind, but still the experience of them is not the same.
단들 로이 딱좀 세디 참만 샘기 니 남참 다 샘기 남도 그 로이 딱좀 세디 요출 토라야 시고레스 라 요출 토라 시원디 최탐지 요출디 엔 직벌해마도 요출로 가지 요 말레스 가시 라원디 요바다 가시 비기 상황인 바 딘디로 짜니만 칸가로 참만로 요출 직벌레스 딜라고레스 요출 찍느냐 비 자와다 뉴바다 디고 로로가 연구도 왔어.
So we say that all phenomena are the same in being merely imputed by mind. They're the same in being merely imputed by mind from the point of view of the mode of existence. In looking at pleasure, pain, neutral sensation, as well as other phenomena, the way that they exist, the mode of existence is the same. And that implies that it's not that some of them exist by their own power and some of them exist through the power of others. In another way of saying that, it's not that some of them exist independently and others exist in dependence upon others. From the point of view of their mode of existence, they are the same in not existing independently. That's the meaning of being imputed by mind, merely imputed by mind. However, still, when we look at the experience itself, we know that pleasure, pain, and so forth are different experiences, there are different sensations. The mode of existence is the same, but the experience is different. So we ran out of time, so we'll leave it here for now. We have a discussion session afternoon, then we have a tutorial at 3 o'clock. So I'm going to end this session now in order to finish the recordings. But please join us again for the discussion group and then for the tutorial. We'll work out the way that the discussion is going to happen. So see you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you tomorrow. Nyudada lama sangin ruguni roa chikyamanu te salango oransho semjo rumboje maji panu degechi kewa nyamba meba yang kone kambu pewa sho rawe kore shinkanti pendam dewa manu chuweni Jere Siwan Tenzin Gansoi Shape Site Padu Thank you Sondul Jubilam Chijere Sanze Kanjin Tenjungo Chana Pemo Tenzin Gansola Sola Tenso Jandun Jangun Gawe Zingyong Ben Gansolo Chosung Koe Lenon Juju Daso Luji Shabdin Sho
Manche on Nachum.
Bye-bye.
How many were there?
55.
55?
Yeah.
That's good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
No more for meditation, I think. We're 60-something.
What are they? People get out having coffee.
Yeah, probably.
Cigarette.